If you are a solopreneur, or if you're somebody who is right now in a full-time job and you want to turn into an entrepreneur, you love the freedom, you want to be your own boss and work for yourself, here is the video for you. This is the most ultimate video for you. In this video, I'm going to give you a playbook and a framework. And this playbook and this framework is exactly what you need to build $1 million in revenue business, which is about 5.5, 6 to about 8 crore rupees worth of annual revenue that you will build for yourself within the next 3 years. So if you're ready for this, let's get started. First things first, is it really possible? Is it even true? Is it even possible? Let's first explore that, to build $1 million in revenue business as a solopreneur, as a one-man company or as a one-woman company. The answer is yes. But this can happen only when you have a very clear playbook and number two, a clear framework. Why? You will learn it now. Let's first start building the playbook. But before we start getting into the steps of the playbook, before we double click on the playbook, I want to set two important foundations for you. Foundation number one, if it can't be set in a process, don't do it. So if you cannot create something as a process, just don't do it. Number two, build once and sell forever. This has to be your motto, that I will build something once and I will keep selling it forever. Whether somebody else sells it for me doesn't really matter. I'll come to that later. That is just economics. So these are the two most important foundations. Number one, if it can't be set in a process, don't do it. Number two, build once and sell for a lifetime, sell forever. Now let's double click on each and every step of this playbook. Step number one, the process or the SOP. Look, if you want to be a really successful solopreneur, it is extremely important that you have the habit of writing everything down as a SOP. SOP means standard operating procedure. Think of it like driving a car. So whenever you are driving a car or whenever you're driving a bike, ultimately, how does it work? You know, if your car is a push button start stop car, you press the button, the car starts. If it has manual gears, you press the clutch, you put it in the first gear. That's how the car starts moving, right? Well, that is exactly how it happens every time. It never changes. That's called a standard operating procedure. When you're seated in a flight, when you go in an aeroplane, when you catch a train, everything has standard operating procedures. Similarly, your business as a solopreneur has to have standard operating procedures. What time do you get up? How do you serve your customers? What exactly is your value proposition? How do you pitch? How much time do you spend in pitching? How do you collect revenue? How do you collect money from your customers? Everything has to be a standard operating procedure. It can't be a new thing every time for every new customer. Of course, your first set of customers will give you new learnings. With feedback, keep improving. But keep improving means keep improving your standard operating procedures. So define every input. Input is your hard work that you're putting in, and the output. The output is the result that you're creating for your customers. Define every input and every output as a set of processes or a standard operating procedure. Unless and until you do this, don't move to step two. You will never be successful as a solopreneur. That is for sure. Step number two, timeline and demand-based pricing. A lot of solopreneurs fundamentally fail in pricing themselves right. And I've seen this time and again. Pricing is critical, but a lot more critical before we reach to pricing is packaging. How do you package your offering? Whether you're delivering a service, whether you're delivering a product, whatever that you're doing, or whether it is a productized service, it is extremely important for you to be able to package it right and hence price it right. Because price is fundamentally a conversation of packaging only. Packaging creates a certain perception in the mind of your customer. And when it does, the customer is able to automatically adjust to your pricing. So you don't have to bring your pricing down to the customer's level. The customer will adjust to your pricing. It will always happen. Remember, design pricing as per delivery schedule and demand. Let's try and understand this. Let's just say that you are a freelancer. You create designs, you create websites, you create YouTube videos, you edit videos, or any such thing. Your pricing should very clearly be established on two factors. Number one, the delivery schedule, and number two, the demand. So for example, you would have seen Ola and Uber, all these cab ride hailing apps, right? What do? When the demand suddenly increases and there is short supply, the time is less, customers want it more quickly, what do? They apply something called surge pricing. Now, of course, you cannot just apply surge pricing randomly on your business because you're not a ride-hailing app. You're fundamentally a service provider. You cannot just call your customer and say, look, hey, these hours are my surge pricing hours. And that is why it is extremely important that you define it as a process for your customer. That if you want this in 1 week, I'll charge you less. If you want it in 2 days, I'll charge you a lot more. Right? That is precisely how you should price yourself. Number 2, faster turnaround must be equal to higher pricing. Look, you would be seeing that there is no conversation of quality in this particular step. Well, because I'm assuming that you're delivering great quality to the customer. If your quality is less, any which ways you should be out of business, right? Now, step number 3, definition of work. Extremely important. A lot of solopreneurs fundamentally go wrong right here. They are unable to define what work fundamentally means. Define a standard operating procedure to lock in the customer's work request. So when a customer is sending you a work request, so for example, you have created a certain website design for a customer, let's say, right? Now the customer asks for a change. Remember, every time the customer asks for a change, be very candid in saying that every change request is a new job for you. And that is why it is extremely important that you have a process, a SOP defined on how you take the job in the first go from the customer. The customer, enable the customer, empower the customer to be able to tell you the right thing, the exact thing, such that you don't get into iterations again and again. Because the more iterations happen, everything will go for a toss. You will never be able to build a great business as a solopreneur, that's for sure. Number 4, define number of customer interactions. Very, very important. As a solopreneur, you tend to, you want to, of course, deliver great quality service to your customers. But that also leads to a lot of meetings, a lot of extra hours that are just spent meeting to and fro and so on and so forth. These hours must really be invested in delivering great quality to your customers, but you don't end up doing that. You literally just waste your hours. Tell your customers, define them very clearly that for this particular job, I'm going to meet you only for 2 hours online, for example, or 1 hour, and define those hours that I'm going to meet you within this block time. If you want to work with me, great. If you don't want to work with me, well, then you could choose a lot of other mediocre players out there in the market. The customers will always adjust because they want great quality. That's why they've come to you, right? So define your number of customer interactions, limit them, use technology, leverage technology, but limit them. That's very important. Number 5, productize your service. And I think this is extremely important. A lot of solopreneurs, just to gain more cash flow and just to get some early set of customers, only tend to deliver services. Services business cannot scale. They just cannot scale. It's extremely tough to scale a services business. Extremely challenging. But a productized service can be scaled. And that's the magic of it all. Think of it like delivering an online course. An online course is a productized service. It's not really a product. It's a productized service. Service because you're teaching as a teacher, and product because it's an online course. So what you've done is you've packaged a service in the form of a product. Now that product can be sold for the rest of its life, right? That's the magic. So think as a product creator. Even if you're a service delivery guy, as a solopreneur, think as a product creator. Try thinking, how do I package my service into a product? How do I create it literally like an off-the-shelf offering that the customer can just buy it for $500 or 5 lakh rupees or whatever the price be? How could it be like an off-the-shelf offering? With every little thing added to it like a value-added service. So if any service has to be delivered, I'll add it on top as a value-added service. But the product has to be very, very clear. Think of it. This is magical. Number 6, choose the right customer. A lot of solopreneurs fundamentally go wrong exactly right here. Just to earn some cash flow, they start working with each and every customer out there. Never works. You will waste your time. You will fail. You will definitely not build $1 million in revenue business. That is a surety. That's a guarantee. Look, remember, the customer that is willing to pay you a $5,000 amount or a lakh or 2 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs in Indian rupees is a customer who is more ready than somebody who is willing to pay just $150 or about $500. That person who values that aspect of paying $5,000 will take less time, will be a lot more refined as a customer, will be very, very clear in his communication because he or she has gone through those motions. And he or she will support you a lot. Whereas somebody who's paying you just $150 or a $500 amount, will keep iterating. It's not their fault. It's just that they are yet going through that cycle of maturity themselves. So every time their mind changes, a doubt creeps in, somebody tells them something new, they want to change everything. And that's where you will lose everything for yourself. You will never be able to build $1 million business for sure. Step number 7 of the playbook, project management, extremely important. Use Basecamp or any other software like this to be highly efficient at managing projects. This is extremely critical. So when you are a solopreneur, also look at yourself as a project manager. That every job that you have is a project. Is every project on time, on schedule? Is every project really going as per the customer's timeline, what you've promised to the customer? Is every project really on time? It is ready? Are there any delays? Is it running over the budgeted cost? What's happening in a project? Define it very, very clearly and use the tool like Basecamp. I personally recommend Basecamp. I've got nothing to do with the company, but I think it's just a great tool and I respect the founder, Jason Fried, so much more. Step number 8 of the playbook, delegate to smaller or niche creators, which fundamentally means this. Let's just say that you've just received a new website design project or a new video editing project. Now you feel that this project is just too small or this project doesn't really require my inputs. Take the project, okay? And then delegate it to smaller set of niche creators or smaller creators, somebody who can do it at a much lesser cost. You take your margins and be honest in saying this. You could just be honest with the customer. Tell the customer, look, I am project managing this for you, but my team is doing it for you. All right? So delegate the smaller stuff. It is going to be of huge value for you. Number 9, build once and sell for a lifetime. This is the best advice that a solopreneur could ever get. Build once, sell for a lifetime. That's how you scale. So fundamentally, over a period of time, over 3 years, as I said, because this playbook is to help you build $1 million in revenue business over 3 years. So over 3 years, you should have revenue streams with you. Revenue streams of $500,000, for example. Revenue streams of, $250,000. You should have multiple revenue streams. And when I say multiple revenue streams, I mean multiple products or services or productized services in your portfolio. So this particular revenue stream or this particular product or productized service is going to make me $250,000. So this is going to make me $500,000. This is going to make me $100,000. This is going to make me $300,000 or $500,000 or whatever the amount be. The whole point is fairly simple. You have to be strategic enough to understand, look, what is making me what in terms of money? Because only then you'd be able to project manage things really well. Then you'd be able to define your time really well. Then you'd be able to define SOPs really well. Then you'd be able to also think like a CEO and say, hey, this is where my time needs to go a little lesser. This is where my involvement needs to increase. This is a lot more important. This can be a long-term thing and so on and so forth. So this one piece will help you take strategic decisions. Got it? These were the 9 important steps of the playbook. But as I said, you also need a framework. And without this framework, it won't happen. You need both the things. I call this the SEVA Framework. I've used it in my business and I can give you examples after examples after examples. I keep writing about them on my LinkedIn profile. You could follow me there. So all the examples where SEVA Framework fits extremely well and it has worked like magic. Now look, SEVA Framework fundamentally helps you reach more customers and activate more customers, whether you're existing customers or new customers. But that is exactly what we need as a solopreneur. We want to reach to more customers and we want to activate more customers. That's the whole point, right? SEVA fundamentally means story, engagement, video, and action. So you got to tell great stories. You got to engage your customers both online and offline. You got to be able to tell these stories in video. And finally, you got to be able to take action. Now, let me give you certain examples to begin with, of course, to initiate you in the SEVA framework. Stories. Imagine your business as a solopreneur as a house of stories. Everything that you're doing is story. Everything, every day, from day 0 to day N, till the time you reach $1 million in revenue, everything is a story. You're not feeling too good today, is a story. You're feeling great today, is a story. You have just signed up a great customer, is a story. You have just lost a customer, is a story. You worked hard all night just to deliver this one project, is a story. You went to this great event, is a story. Everything is a story. What you need to realize is this, that you don't need to generate new stories. A lot of people, a lot of solopreneurs, they fail right here. They think that they have to be great content marketers, they have to create great content. No, you don't. What you fundamentally need to do is just be able to understand that if you are able to document your day, your journey, and just share it wildly out there, in public, open with the world, that's all that is required. Documentation is way, way, way more stronger, way more effective than original creation. Because documentation of your life, of your journey is authentic, it is honest, it is real. It is you. It is you who you are. And that's really powerful. Number 2 is engage. Engage your customers offline and online. Look at this picture on top. This is me delivering a lecture in India at a place called Ahmedabad. And when I delivered this lecture, we ideally thought that there would be about 80 to about 100 people joining in, but many people joined in. And look at people, they're so humbly sitting on the ground, literally listening to this lecture. I think this is magic. But this magic happens only when you do SEVA. When you tell these great stories, when you create value for the audience. And that's precisely what the All-In podcast, for example, is doing in an online avatar, right? This podcast is a conversation, but conversation about important topics, conversation that also has insights. And that's why people, listen to all of these podcasts and episodes, which are lengthy. They are, 50 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour long podcast. It's just phenomenal, right? V stands for video. Now, don't just sell. A lot of people are caught right in this problem. They want to create new stuff, and that's where they get caught. I fundamentally say don't. Just teach your customers, empower your customers, help your customers make great decisions in your video content. And how do you create video content? Well, you document. There's no magic to it. How I create video content is fairly simple. So I do a lot of online trainings. I train people in the SEVA Framework. I train organizations, I train young folks, and my events. So for example, in the picture down below, you're seeing me with Sabir Bhatia, the guy who launched Hotmail and sold it to Microsoft several years back. So I hosted him in New Delhi at this place called IIT Delhi, and we documented it. We just let it out there open for the world to watch, to learn from. Isn't that magic? I think that is. It's very, very powerful. And you don't need a lot of money to do this. Action. Action fundamentally means that you need to create stories, put them out there in the world. That's what action fundamentally means. Such that your customers are able to connect the dots with you a lot more often. That's the key. Look, if a certain customer connects one dot with you, that would probably not turn into a sale. But if a customer connects 1,000 dots with you, that will definitely turn into a sale. That is precisely what you need to learn. How do you create stories and take them out in the world so that more and more and more and more and more and more and more people connect the dots more and more and more and more and more and more and more with you? That's it. It's a simple mathematical formula. And that is how a lot of brands are using it right now. This documentary on Netflix called Air about Nike as a brand, I think it's phenomenal. You should definitely watch it. These are all the events that I do. I personally connect with people all the year round, and I document them really well. And that is what sends those signals across out there in the world that lets people connect with me, connect their dots with me. Now, how did I use SEVA in my business last year? In 2023, I literally started with zero. And within 1 year, I built a business that has created about 60 lakh rupees, a little more than that, in revenue. Now, 60 lakh Indian rupees is about 72,000 to about 75,000 US dollars. I spent almost nothing doing this, absolutely almost nothing doing this. No marketing cost, no paid marketing, 100% organic. And all of this happened because I got 6.4 lakh hours of videos watched on my Facebook page and on my YouTube channel. All of this happened because of just this one thing. 6.4 lakh hours of videos watched on my Facebook and on my YouTube. That's the magic. And how did it happen? I just simply documented my journey of building a venture, of delivering the services, of my set of services to the customers. So if I could do this, well, you could do this too. This is not rocket science. Or else, you could probably take my help doing this. That's what I help people do. In fact, I trained over 20,000 micro entrepreneurs and students in 2020, 2021, and 2022. I'm also the co-curator and the host of a very, very popular primetime TV show called Startup Champions 2.0, which was aired on the national television, the national television of Bharat of India, called DD Network. All of this purely because I document my journey really, really well. Now, since I documented my journey really well, I documented myself every day. That is why this magic happened in my life. That is why I was able to build a successful business, and you could do it too. This made people feel associated with me. This made people feel connected with me. They connected their dots with me. And that's why we built such a great business. I did SEVA. It is your turn now to implement the SEVA framework and the playbook that we spoke about in your business and become a really successful solopreneur. Now, how is SEVA framework implemented? Well, you could do it yourself, or you could take my help and do this in your business. Step number 1, when I work with you, I will help you document your journey. I will tell you exactly how to go about it. Documentation is not just putting a camera right in front of your face and just talking to it 24/7. It doesn't work. Step number 2, you or your team will then publish these stories that I help you create to the world at large. Just don't think about whether they're going to get viral, whether they're going to work or not. Do not even think about it. Just remember that every story that you're putting out there will definitely connect the dots with somebody out there. And that's your core objective. Step number 3, we will together keep repeating this unless and until it becomes a process. It becomes an SOP for you, a standard operating procedure for you. So SEVA framework and the playbook must lead to sales, must lead to retention for you. And that's how you will build $1 million in revenue business within 3 years as a solopreneur. Now, if you want to work with me, the SEVA program, of course, can be implemented if we start working together for at least 12 months or a bare minimum of 6 months. The investment that's required if you're in India is anywhere from 50,000 rupees to about 5 lakh rupees every month. Or I could just simply be training you once, twice, thrice, and you could say, look, I'm smart enough, I've gotten it, I'll do it myself. I don't mind. If you are in the US or anywhere outside of India, you'd be looking at an investment of anywhere from $1,000 to about $7,000 to about $10,000 every month. Or again, you could tell me that, hey, Paritosh, why don't you just come and train our team? We will take it from there. I'm most happy doing that as well. Now is the time for you to implement the SEVA framework and this playbook for your business. If you want to work with me, WhatsApp me on this number. +91 is the India country code. My number is 9999873721. I look forward to working with you, create a playbook for you, and implement the SEVA framework in your business. Let's be more successful. You know what? There are tons and tons and tons of examples out there. People who are literally sitting at home, solopreneurs who build $1 million businesses. It's your time now. I'll see you implementing the SEVA framework and the playbook. Be more successful. It's your turn now.